Alright, y'all, today is the day. As you can see, the Yvonne banner is finally live. Let's get into her best teams, her best gear, and her best weapons, shall we? Let's go with the weapon first, shall we? So, her best in slot signature weapon is the artsy Tyrannical. That is her best because it comes with intellect boost, critical rate boost, and also fracture artsy exaggeration, which is a cryo damage dealt increase. And after the wielder scores a critical hit, whether battle skill or combo skill, the wielder gains cryo damage dealt plus 14% for 30 seconds. Now, obviously, those percentages can increase the more that you get of that weapon. Now, so when it comes to the best early game weapon, that would be the wedge, because it comes with the main attribute boost, critical rate boost, and infliction wedge of civilization. But going from best to worst, you obviously have her best in slot. You then have the navigator from the battle pass. Then you have wedge, again like I just mentioned. You then have the 4-star howling guard. Now let's head over to the best gear, shall we? So the best level 70 gold gear is a 4-piece of the MI security, specifically being the overalls as the chest, the hands PPE for the gloves, and then 2 set of the security tool kit. Now that is her best, because in total you'll get about 25% attack and 10% crit rate with the set bonus on top of all the stats and effects each gear piece provides. Now, if you did want to go with an off piece, then you can go with the Pulsar Labs gloves for its high cryo damage buff. Now, when it comes to the early game build, you want to go with the 4-piece of the Mordvault Insulation set, and that being the Insulation Vest T1, the Insulation Gloves, and then the Insulation Wrench T1, and then the installation battery. The reason being is that you would also then use the wedge pistol as her best weapon at that time, because you would be using the weapon for the crit stat and the art damage that it would provide. And then for the gear, it would be a good early game set for the intellect stat set boost, because as you can see, intellect is her main stat and agility is her secondary stat. Now let's go over her best team compositions, shall we? Okay, so she has 4 teams that can work well with her. So her first team is specifically a solidification team, which goes for her, Gilberta, Alesh, and Jahi. Now the reason being is because the team would then center around applying cryo and nature inflictions to then make the solidification on enemies and also enabling her own buffs. The reason why Jahi and Gilberta are there is because they apply their buffs and debuffs to maximize Yvonne's damage percentile. Then Alesh is also there to help with the skill point generation and can also apply cryo infliction using his ultimate. Now you then have the Yvonne cryo team, and that is her, Last Right, Jahi, and Fluorite. Reason being for the cryo team is because it maximizes her ultimate uptime, stacking plenty of cryo infliction for Yvonne to consume via her battle skill. Each stack of infliction consumed adds energy for Yvonne, allowing her to perform her ultimate more frequently. That is probably the team that I'm going to go with, but there are also 2 other team potentials as well. There is then the burst team of herself, Gilberta, Prolica, and Jahi. Reason being is because it centers around applying multiple debuffs from Gilberta and Prolica to the enemy, while keeping Yvonne buffed with Jahi to maximize her ultimate damage potential. Do take note though that due to the low cryo and nature infliction of the team, Yvonne's ultimate uptime suffers due to the low energy gain, but deals higher damage from the multitude of buffs and debuffs. And then finally, you have the free-to-play team of Yvonne, then either Estelle or Fluorite as a support. You then have Alesh or Akakuri as a skill point generator, and then finally you have Snowshine for the sustain. Now, the reason being for Snowshine specifically is because of the fact that she is a free character that you just get from installing the game and getting up to the point where you can access the mail. And it's also another character that can be used for sustain and cryo infliction, as I mentioned previously. Now, with Alesh being a skill point generator, it is a bit hard to get rid of this team, but you can try and make do with Akakuri just for the skill points. Now, for the other supports, you have Estelle or Fluorite, as I mentioned. They can be used for the cryo infliction stacks. And yeah, that is about everything for Yvonne. Who would like to see next? Thanks for watching.